I want to address a misconception that you can form your own opinion about what happened in a criminal case by watching trials on TV. You can't figure out what the truth is and what really happened from watching a criminal trial on TV. Trials, whether they're on TV or not, but even more so when nobody's even looking, all they show is two distorted little parts of the evidence where the lawyers lie and distort them just to fit whatever their agenda is. So it's basically the best cheap strategy that each lawyer can come up with to get the result he wants. It's not a look into the actual evidence. And again, especially when trials aren't on TV, but even when they are, it's just it's just like a quick hit of lies from both sides, just trying to get the result they want. It's not trials. Trials are not even allowed to look into the evidence because the judge would say, "We don't have time for this. Just figure out your strategy and just give us a couple snippets that fit that strategy." Like, suppose someone goes into Walmart and puts some steaks in his pants, and a customer sees him put the steaks in his pants and tells a cashier, and then the cashier tells security, and a security guard confronts the guy at the door on his way out and finds the steaks. By the time that gets to trial, it's just as likely that customer who actually saw the guy putting the steaks in his pants won't even be a witness. And instead, the Walmart security guard is just going to lie. Oh, yeah, I saw the man acting suspicious, so I confronted him, and that's when I found the steaks. And, you might think, well, why would the prosecutor leave out the original customer witness who saw this guy put steaks in his pants? Maybe the prosecutor rushed because he's busy and he didn't even realize there was an original customer witness. He just like police report, security, steaks, whatever. Or maybe the original customer witness isn't cooperating. Maybe they can't find him. Maybe he just doesn't show up. So the prosecutor needs to build his case using just the security guard. Maybe the security guard, because he's done this so many times, he just has figured out a standard story that he knows jurors like, where he just always says, "Yeah, I saw him acting suspicious," and jurors can follow that. Whereas when he tries to go into details, like he can tell jurors get lost, the prosecutor doesn't have time for it. It's the security guard. He knows the prosecutor's busy and jurors are confused. So security guard knows. Listen, I go into court when people steal stuff. I just say, "Yeah, I saw him acting suspicious," so I confronted him and I found the stolen items. So before the trial, the prosecutor has the security guard come in, and remember, the prosecutor's got like 100 different cases. So he says, "Okay, you're in this other case. So you saw this guy put steaks in his coat." And the security guard, he gets the cue from the prosecutor as to what the prosecutor needs him to say or what the prosecutor's strategy is. They kind of loosely, understand what each other wants, and they attempt to coordinate because they have a mutual goal where they know the result they both want. So the security guard understands, what the prosecutor needs and says, "Yeah, I saw this guy acting suspicious, so I confronted him, and that's when I found the stakes in his coat." And then after the prosecutor puts on this simplified story where it's just a security guard seeing a suspicious guy finding stakes in his coat, the defense is going to go, "Okay." In response to that little cartoon that they put on, our best strategy is just say the stakes were actually in my pocket. They weren't, hidden in my coat. That's just how I was carrying them. It doesn't prove I stole them. I paid cash and I just didn't keep my receipt. And then people who watch this trial on TV are then going to say, "Oh, I think this guy's innocent because the prosecutor, or because the security guard story just sounds like some flimsy BS that security guards always say. They're always, making accusations that I look suspicious. I don't trust the security guard." Or, other people are going to go, nobody puts stakes in their coat pocket, so I don't believe that. I've never carried anything in my own coat pocket, so I think this guy's obviously guilty. When in reality, the stakes went right in his pants and the customer saw it. But by the time of trial, that gets lost. In our adversarial system, we count on the self interest of these two sides, of the prosecutors and the defendants, to produce information. But neither of these sides has a goal of producing just information in general. They have a goal of winning the trial. And so the information they produce isn't the truth, it's their best strategy given what they have to work with. And neither the lawyers, nor the judge, nor the jury has time to listen to all the actual details of all the evidence. So the judge basically says to, the defense lawyer and the prosecution, but really mostly the defense, they say, well, what's your strategy? And then the judge lets you put on just a few snippets of evidence that fit into your strategy. Like, what are you trying to say? Okay, then we'll just give you a couple of things that fit what you're trying to say because we don't have time to just, look at every grain of evidence. And then for you, as somebody watching the trial on TV, trying to figure out what really happened based on the superficial strategy you see, that's like if you were watching a poker game and you see two players betting and you're going to go, oh, I think this guy has kings and I think this guy has, maybe a full house. You don't know what the real evidence is. All you see is their strategy. Their bets when they're betting, that's not telling you the truth of what's in their hand. That's what they're betting is affected by the truth and kind of is constrained to some extent by the truth, but what strategy you're seeing superficially at trial is not the whole truth or the whole details any more than a guy who's betting at a poker table has any more than you can say what's in his hand. If you really wanted to know the truth about what happened in a criminal case, you'd have to spend many, many more times longer than the time a jury spends or a prosecutor spends on a case, going through all the original witness statements, looking at the crime scene photos, going through the original video from Walmart, looking at the dates when police reports were edited, and then you'd figure out, yeah, there was a customer who actually saw this guy putting steaks in his pants. He was there. This original witness got lost, and so you'd find a witness that was hidden. But that's where it gets kind of interesting. That well, the defense didn't bring out this witness because it didn't help the defense to find this lost witness, the customer, and the prosecutor didn't need him because he just had the security guard lie something about the coat, and that was both their best strategy. And so as you see, the fact that we have a defendant and a prosecutor produce information doesn't guarantee that you'll be able to find out what actually happened from watching the trial.